Okay, so you sent over this information on electrical power distributors from RoleCatcher.com,
Uh-huh.
and it seems like you're ready to kind of like go beyond just, what they do and really dive into this career.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Um,
And what's interesting here is how RoleCatcher goes beyond just the typical like surface level job description.
okay.
They highlight how this career path really blends, technical know-how with like real world problem solving,
Right, because I think when most of us,
which is really unique.
yeah, most of us, I mean, we think, okay, flip a switch, lights turn on, easy.
Right.
But their guide really digs into challenges that most of us would never even think about,
Yeah.
like ensuring that power stays on in extreme weather.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not even just about like reacting to those crises.
Right.
The guide also highlights how this field is like rapidly changing,
Yeah.
especially with all these new, renewable energy sources like solar and wind.
Yeah, they do mention that. Like, how do they integrate those energy sources into the existing grid?
Right. And imagine like the problem solving skills that you need for that.
Yeah.
It requires a really deep understanding of not just the traditional energy systems, but also those renewable energy systems
Mm-hmm.
and the ability to adapt to these constantly like evolving technologies.
Right.
This isn't like your grandparents' power grid anymore.
No kidding. And speaking of adapting, I thought it was interesting how they broke down a typical career path.
Yeah.
It's not just about climbing poles and doing that kind of thing. Like you can go from entry level all the way up to like a senior role where you're like the electrical power distribution guru.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really about that constant um, evolution, I think. Like
Mm-hmm.
they really emphasize that you need to be continuously learning,
Mm-hmm.
keeping those certifications up to date,
Mm.
almost like you're, leveling up in a video game, but with real world.
Right, right.
Well,
Consequences.
like you can't just decide to not do it that day.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
You're kind of stuck. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that analogy because it does feel like this career path really demands that you stay ahead of the curve.
Uh-huh.
And one of their sample interview questions I thought was really interesting. It said, how do you ensure that electrical power distribution systems are um, energy efficient and sustainable?
Right.
Like they're not messing around with these questions.
Yeah, no, that question speaks volumes, I think, and it really hints at the larger impact of this role.
Right.
Like you're not just keeping the lights on today,
Yeah.
you're contributing to a future of, responsible energy consumption, which is really important.
Yeah, and it's really fascinating how they like lay out that path to becoming, this power distribution guru. Like they have these like career stage breakdowns,
Right.
almost like we were talking about, like those character sheets and looking at the different levels. You start with the basics and kind of like work your way up.
Okay, I'm game. So let's start with like the newbie.
Okay.
Fresh out of school, excited to get their hands dirty, and in this case, like literally get their hands dirty.
Yeah.
What does a typical day look like for an entry-level electrical power distributor?
So think of it almost like an apprenticeship. You're learning from all these experienced technicians.
Okay.
You're assisting with like power line maintenance and repairs, getting really familiar with all the equipment, safety protocols.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hands-on.
So more like hand me the wrench and less redesign the grid
Yeah,
at that stage.
exactly. It's really about like building that foundation and really proving your dedication.
Okay.
And RoleCatcher's example profile for like this stage, it really emphasized like enthusiasm and work ethic.
Oh, wow.
Um,
As much as the technical
Essentially,
knowledge.
yeah, the technical knowledge.
Yeah, you got to show them that you're willing to like put in the work before they let you near like the high voltage stuff.
Exactly, exactly. And you're not just like a gopher, that foundation in the electrical power distribution principles.
Right.
Like that's where it really comes in. You're applying what you learned, in your associate's degree or
Mhm.
your technical diploma, and you're making those connections in the real world.
So you're using what you've learned and now you're applying it, but you're still learning from these more experienced people.
Exactly, exactly.
Okay, so put in your time, you've learned the ropes,
right?
maybe you've even earned a couple like battle scars from close calls with like angry squirrels on power lines.
Right.
What's the next level look like?
So that's when you start to transition from like assisting to doing
Okay.
so a junior level electrical power distributor. They're operating and maintaining equipment more like independently.
Okay.
They're supervising smaller teams,
Hmm.
and they're starting to tackle those like tricky fault finding missions in the distribution system.
So more responsibility, but also more opportunity to kind of like flex those problem-solving muscles a little bit.
Absolutely, absolutely. And RoleCatcher's example profile for like this stage, it highlighted having a proven track record of supervising those maintenance and repairs. So,
Okay.
you're not just responsible for your own work anymore,
Right, right.
right? You're responsible for others as well.
And they also mention being proficient in fault identification and troubleshooting, which sounds really important.
Absolutely.
Like you're like an electrical detective.
Yeah, imagine like a power outage hits.
Yeah.
You're the one who needs to quickly and accurately like diagnose the problem.
Yeah.
Is it a down line? Is it a faulty transformer?
Right.
Maybe it's, a squirrel that got a little too ambitious.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And now the pressure's really on.
Exactly.
No wonder they stress the importance of like minimizing downtime and keeping that power flowing to customers.
Absolutely. At that junior level, you really start to fully grasp like the real world impact
Yeah.
of this work and how it like affects people's lives in such a direct way.
Yeah, you're not just connecting wires at this point. You're like connecting communities. You're keeping businesses running, like
Right.
maybe even saving lives, like in a hospital that needs that steady power supply.
Exactly. Exactly. It's that connection to something like bigger than yourself,
Yeah,
that really starts to resonate at this stage.
right. And of course, with more responsibility
Yeah.
comes, that ambition to keep climbing that career ladder.
Exactly. Yeah.
So how do you go from like junior electrical power guru to like the master level?
Right.
What does it take to reach like that mid level?
So at this point, it becomes less about like individual tasks
Okay.
and more about like leadership and oversight. So you're managing these teams, you're overseeing these larger scale projects, you're analyzing those like really complex faults
Right.
that make those junior level folks kind of like scratch their heads and be like, what's going on here?
I need my mentor.
Exactly.
Help me out. So you're thinking more strategically now, like considering that bigger picture of the power grid.
Precisely. Precisely. And RoleCatcher's example profile for like this stage, it emphasized not just experience, but like advanced education.
Oh, okay.
A master's degree in electrical engineering
Right.
or a related field can be a real asset here, as can, specialized certifications.
Yeah, sure.
Remember those leveling up moments.
Right, right. You got to collect those certifications as you go.
Exactly. Exactly.
So even at like the mid-level, you're never done learning. Like this field is constantly evolving.
Oh, absolutely.
It's demanding that you stay ahead of the curve.
Absolutely. And that ability to like analyze those really complex situations, implement those like innovative solutions. That's what really sets like a mid-level electrical power distributor apart.
Yeah.
They're the ones with the experience and the knowledge to like keep the juice flowing no matter what curveballs are thrown their way.
Yeah, they sound like they need nerves of steel and a brain wired for problem solving.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But we can't stop there. We gotta reach the peak, the pinnacle
Right.
of this career path.
Right. Right.
What does a senior level electrical power distributor actually do?
So this is where you're not just like managing the grid, you're shaping its future.
Wow.
Think like long-term strategy,
Okay.
cutting-edge technology,
Uh-huh.
leading these large teams,
Right.
mentoring those like rising stars in the field. You're the one with the big picture vision.
So you're kind of like the conductor of an orchestra, but instead of instruments, you're coordinating this flow of electricity
Exactly.
across entire cities, regions.
That's a great analogy. You're making sure that grid is reliable, it's efficient, it's adaptable to, the ever-changing energy landscape.
Right.
Think about the increasing demand for electricity.
Yeah.
The integration of those renewables that we talked about.
Right.
That's what you're strategizing about at this level.
It's not just about keeping the lights on anymore. It's about ensuring like a sustainable energy future
Exactly.
for everyone.
Exactly.
That's a huge responsibility.
It is. It is. And RoleCatcher really highlights that, a senior level electrical power distributor, they need that proven track record of not just, the technical expertise,
Right.
but also the strategic planning and execution.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
they're the ones who are making those really tough decisions,
Yeah.
often with, millions of dollars.
Wow.
And the well-being of like entire communities riding on those choices.
Yeah, talk about a high stakes game.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
their example profile mentioned having a PhD, along with like this alphabet soup of certifications. I guess you don't reach that level without being like a lifelong learner.
Exactly. It's about, constantly seeking that new knowledge,
Yeah.
pushing the boundaries of what's possible,
Mm.
and really like inspiring that next generation of electrical power distributors to do the same.
Wow, so it's clear that this isn't just a job.
Right.
It's like a career path with this incredible depth and the potential for like real world impact.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, not everyone is cut out to climb a power pole in a blizzard
Right.
or troubleshoot a citywide blackout.
Yeah, it takes a certain kind of person to thrive in this field,
Right.
And for those who are like intrigued but maybe wondering like do I have what it takes?
Yeah.
RoleCatcher actually gave some advice on how to kind of like prepare for this career path.
Okay, so let's break that down. What are some of the key things that aspiring electrical power distributors should be like focusing on?
So first and foremost, get that hands-on experience. Don't wait until you graduate to like get your hands dirty.
All right.
Look for those internships, volunteer opportunities,
Right.
even that part-time gig at like a hardware store.
Right.
Anything where you're working with electrical systems,
Mm-hmm.
even in like a small way,
Just start building those practical skills and showing those potential employers that you're serious about this.
Exactly. And then problem solving.
Hmm.
That's like the heart and soul of this profession.
Right.
And RoleCatcher actually suggested like practicing those troubleshooting skills.
Oh, okay.
Maybe work through some real world scenarios that they provided, or even just tinkering with electronics in your spare time.
Oh, okay. So
Um,
just kind of cultivate that curiosity, that desire to figure out how things work. And then how to fix them when they don't.
exactly. And while those technical skills are absolutely essential,
Mm-hmm.
don't underestimate the power of like soft skills.
Okay.
Communication, teamwork,
Okay.
the ability to explain like these really complex ideas in a clear and concise way.
Right.
Those are all so crucial, especially as you move up the ranks.
So it's not enough to just be like this lone wolf genius. You got to be a team player.
Right.
You got to be able to communicate effectively with people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And never stop learning. This field is constantly evolving, so stay curious.
Yeah.
Read those industry publications, attend those conferences,
Right.
join those professional organizations. Just really immerse yourself in the world of electrical power.
So we've got hands-on experience,
Yeah.
problem-solving skills, communication,
Yeah.
and a thirst for knowledge. That's a pretty good foundation for success in this field.
It is.
Yeah.
And then they also emphasize networking. Connect with people in the industry, attend those career fairs, reach out to professionals on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
You never know where a conversation might lead.
I'm at networking, right? Building those relationships can open doors.
Exactly.
And provide like those valuable insights.
And it's not just about, what you know, it's who you know, or at least who you've had the chance to learn from.
Exactly.
And don't be afraid to ask questions.
Right.
Even the ones that seem really basic, everyone starts somewhere, and most professionals are more than happy to share their knowledge and experience with someone who's genuinely interested.
So put yourself out there, network, and don't be afraid to pick the brains of those who have already walked the path that you're interested in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And remember, like landing your dream job in this field, or really any field, it often takes time
Yeah.
and persistence.
Yeah.
Don't get discouraged by setbacks. See those as learning opportunities.
A marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly. Yeah. And speaking of marathons, we've covered a lot of ground
Yeah.
in this episode so far.
Yeah.
But before we power down for a quick recharge,
Okay.
I want to make sure that, our listener has all the tools that they need to kind of like continue their exploration.
Okay, yeah, we've only just kind of scratched the surface here.
Exactly.
So let's plug them into those resources.
Yeah.
What are some key ones that stand out?
So a great starting point is the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers,
Okay.
better known as IE.
Ah, the IE. I've at least heard of them.
Yes, yes.
They're like the rock stars of the electrical engineering world.
Exactly, exactly. And they offer just this treasure trove of information and resources,
Okay.
networking opportunities,
Yeah.
you name it. If you're serious about this field, like IE is your new best friend.
Okay, IE, check. What other organizations should be on our listeners' radar?
So if you're interested in like the nitty-gritty of working as an electrician,
Okay.
the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers,
Okay.
or IBEW,
The IBEW. Yeah.
is a must-know.
Okay.
Um,
They're all about, advocating for the rights and safety of electrical workers,
exact.
which is so important.
Oh, absolutely. Especially in a field that has, some inherent risks.
Right, exactly.
Um,
Don't want to mess around with electricity.
exactly.
Mhm.
And they offer apprenticeship programs,
Oh, nice.
which can be a fantastic pathway into this career.
Yeah.
They provide that on-the-job training
Uh-huh.
and a really like direct route to employment.
So if you're looking to get your foot in the door, like the IBEW is definitely worth checking out.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What about for those with like global aspirations?
Oh, yeah. So for those looking, beyond their own borders, the International Electrotechnical Commission,
Okay,
or IEC,
got it.
is a key player. They develop international standards for all that electrical equipment and systems,
Mm-hmm.
and they really make sure that everything works together seamlessly, no matter where you are in the world.
That's fascinating. So if you have dreams of like working on electrical grids in different countries,
Yeah,
like understanding IEC standards could be your ticket to a global career.
precisely, precisely. And of course, we can't forget about good old-fashioned government resources.
Okay.
The Occupational Outlook Handbook,
Right.
published by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics.
Yep. Of the oath.
Yes, it provides just a wealth of information on hundreds of occupations, including, electrical power distributors.
Always like the crystal ball for career planning.
It is, it is.
It's got all the information. It tells you about the job outlook, the salary expectations.
Yeah, work environment, required education, it's all there.
Right. It's if you're curious about the job market in your area, or if you want to compare salaries
Yeah.
across different states, the OH is your go-to.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Fantastic. Okay, so we've covered the career path, the skills, the resources. I mean, we've even thrown in some squirrel anecdotes for good measure.
Of course.
But before we wrap up, I'm kind of curious about something.
Yeah, what's on your mind?
We've talked a lot about like the technical aspects, like the
Mhm.
nuts and bolts of being an electrical power distributor.
Right.
But what about the human element? What is
Right.
it actually like to like do this job
Yeah.
day in and day out?
Right. That's the question that those career guides and statistics can't always like fully answer.
Right.
It's about that lived experience,
Yeah.
the challenges that are overcome, the camaraderie that's forged, in the trenches, so to speak.
Exactly. I'm craving those like behind the scenes stories,
Yeah.
the ones that really reveal like the heart and soul of this profession.
Right. And thankfully, those stories, they exist. A lot of these, online forums and communities, they have all these spaces where these professionals can share their experiences, their triumphs, even their like hilarious mishaps.
Okay. I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
What kind of stories are we talking about here? Give me the good stuff.
Okay, so imagine like a blizzard raging outside, power lines are snapping like twigs,
Okay.
and you're part of the team that's like braving the elements to restore electricity to this community that's been plunged into darkness.
Okay, I can already feel the adrenaline rush. It's like you're like a first responder but for the electrical grid.
Exactly, exactly. Or picture yourself, perched precariously atop this utility pole.
Okay.
The wind is whipping all around you. You're meticulously repairing this faulty connection
Mhm.
while the fate of like 1,000 coffee makers hangs in
Yeah.
the balance.
That sounds both exhilarating and terrifying at the same time.
It is. It is.
Definitely not a job for the faint of heart
No.
or those with a fear of heights.
No, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
right.
And then you have those stories of like ingenuity and quick thinking.
Yeah.
Like the time when this team of electrical power distributors, they used a like makeshift generator to power this hospital during this massive blackout.
Wow.
They literally kept hope alive.
Talk about feeling the impact of your work.
Right.
It's those moments that really remind you that you're not just connecting wires, you're connecting people.
Exactly.
You're powering their lives. You're making a difference.
Exactly. And those things, they're often passed down.
Yeah.
From one generation of electrical power distributors to the next.
Yeah.
And they really capture like the true essence of this profession,
Yeah.
the camaraderie, the resilience,
Yeah.
that unwavering commitment to keeping the lights on, no matter what challenges come their way.
It makes you realize there's so much more to this career path than meets the eye.
Yeah.
It's not just the technical skills, the problem solving.
Right.
It's that passion for service, a dedication to safety, and just that deep-seated desire to keep the world running smoothly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And those intangible rewards.
Yeah.
That sense of purpose, the camaraderie, those are often what keeps, electrical power distributors coming back day after day,
Yeah.
year after year.
It's about being a part of something bigger than yourself.
Exactly.
Knowing that your work has a tangible impact
Yeah.
on the lives of countless people.
Exactly. And that's something truly special.
So we've heard about the problem solving,
Yeah.
camaraderie,
Right.
the feeling that you're really making a difference. It's pretty inspiring stuff.
Yeah.
But let's be real, those blizzard rescues and makeshift hospital generators,
Okay.
they probably don't happen every day.
Right. Exactly.
So what about the flip side?
Yeah.
What are some of the less glamorous aspects of being an electrical power distributor?
Well, you're right. It's not always, those action movie scenarios.
Right.
And the guide is very upfront about the physically demanding nature of the job. And that's something that came up a lot in those online forums as well.
Yeah, and we've talked about, working outdoors and all kinds of weather,
Mhm.
but some of the stories that I was reading, like clinging to power poles during windstorms and trekking through like knee-deep snow to restore power. I mean,
Yeah.
that's commitment.
It is. And it's not just, the elements.
Right.
You're working with this heavy equipment, sometimes in like really awkward positions
Right.
for long periods of time.
Yeah.
And it takes a toll. A lot of those forums had like advice on stretching and staying in shape just to handle the physical demands of the job.
So it's almost like being like an athlete.
Yeah.
But instead of, scoring touchdowns, you're keeping the lights on.
Exactly. And speaking of, tough conditions,
Yeah.
the guide also mentioned the unpredictable hours. Those emergencies.
Yeah.
They don't really respect a 9 to 5 schedule.
Power outages always seem to happen at the worst possible time.
Exactly. So nights, weekends,
Wait.
holidays, you name it.
Wow.
And while there's often, overtime pay involved,
Yeah.
it is something to consider if you really value your free time.
Right.
Or have, family commitments and things like that.
So it's not just about being technically skilled. It's about being like adaptable and resilient.
Yes, absolutely.
And maybe having a very understanding family.
And having yes, absolutely.
Right.
And then, of course, working with this high voltage equipment
Yeah.
always carries some inherent risks.
Right.
Even with like the most stringent safety protocols.
Of course.
That's just something that you can't, take lightly.
You can't mess around with high voltage electricity.
Exactly.
The guide really stressed the importance of safety training and following those procedures meticulously.
Yes.
Like one wrong move could have like really serious consequences.
Absolutely. And even with all those, precautions in place,
Right.
there's still that pressure of knowing that people are relying on you
Yeah.
to keep their lights on,
Right.
keep their businesses running, keep their lives functioning,
Especially during those emergency situations that we were talking about.
Exactly. You're the one that everyone's counting on to solve the problem.
Yeah. No pressure.
Right. Exactly. And that can be stressful.
Yeah.
Especially for those who really like thrive on predictability.
Right.
it's not a career for the faint of heart.
No.
That's
Yeah.
that's for
Okay,
sure.
so we've explored the challenges, the physical demands,
Right.
the unpredictable hours, the inherent risks, the pressure.
Yeah.
It's definitely not all sunshine and squirrel encounters,
Yeah.
but something tells me that there are some pretty powerful rewards
Yes.
that make it all worthwhile.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And a lot of these online forums
Yeah.
dedicated to electrical power distributors, they have these whole threads
Okay.
dedicated to like why I love my job, you know.
Wow. Okay.
Even with all the challenges that we just discussed.
Yeah. So what are some of the reasons that these folks give for sticking with it?
So the sense of purpose is huge.
Okay.
You know, you're not just pushing papers.
Right.
You're not selling widgets.
Right.
You are providing a vital service
Right.
that directly impacts people's lives.
It's that feeling that you're really making a difference.
Exactly.
Okay.
And let's not forget that job stability
Right.
and the earning potential that we talked about.
Right. Right.
You know, as one forum user put it, the lights will always need to be turned back on.
That's a pretty secure feeling
It
in
is.
today's job market.
It is, and you know, with experience and those advanced certifications, those salaries,
Yeah.
they can be pretty impressive.
They can be pretty good. Yeah. Yeah, but it's not always about the paycheck.
Right, exactly. A lot of folks in the forums talked about that deep satisfaction that comes from mastering such
Yeah.
a complex and challenging field.
Not everyone can like troubleshoot a power grid
Exactly.
or rewire a transformer, you know.
Exactly. It takes a special set of skills
Yeah.
and a whole lot of dedication to do this work.
So it's that pride in your craft, that feeling of being like a true expert
Yes.
that keeps those electrical power distributors coming back for more,
Exactly.
even when the weather's frightful or the hours are long.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
it's a career path with its fair share of challenges.
Yeah.
But the rewards, the sense of purpose, the job security,
Mhm.
the pride in your work.
Yeah.
And let's not forget the occasional squirrel encounter.
Right. Exactly.
It seems to outweigh the downsides for those who are truly passionate about this field.
It really is. It's about finding a career that aligns with your values, your interests, and your willingness to rise to a challenge.
Right.
You know, and for those who are really drawn to the world of electricity, who get a thrill from problem solving
Right.
and making things work, like this could be the perfect fit.
Absolutely. So to our listener, we've journeyed together
Yeah.
through the world of electrical power distribution. We've explored the technical aspects,
Yes.
the human side
Yeah, absolutely.
of this really like essential profession.
Yeah.
We've talked about the challenges, we've celebrated the rewards,
Yeah.
and we've given you the resources to kind of like illuminate your own path of discovery.
Absolutely.
Now it's up to you to take that next step, you know, follow your curiosity, ask
Yeah.
questions, connect with professionals in the field,
Yeah.
and explore those possibilities that really spark your interest.
Because the world needs those skilled and dedicated individuals
Yeah.
to keep the lights on now and in the future.
And who knows, maybe you'll be the one sharing your own like electrifying stories
Right.
on those
Exactly.
online forums someday.
Exactly.
Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.
Thanks for having me.